Hi everyone, please subscribe my YouTube channel new more videos. I closed on my dream home and invited my family for a housewarming party. Nobody showed up. They were all at my sister's new car reveal instead. As I flipped on the lights, my phone lit up with a call from my dad. "We need to talk," he said, urgent. "My name's Aaron. I'm 29, the eldest, the organizer, the guy with extra batteries and a savings account for emergencies. I'm a construction project manager, permits, timelines, budgets. I like tidy spreadsheets, labeled storage bins, and doors that latch smoothly on the first try. My family calls me dependable, practical. I see myself as the quiet machinery that keeps their chaos running. My sister Tessa is 26, the family's darling. She's impulsive, vibrant, driven by big ideas. Our parents cheer her every whim. When I got my driver's license, I bought a used Civic with my own money and learned to change its oil in the driveway. When Tessa got hers, Dad said, "A young lady needs something reliable," and handed her keys to a brand new SUV, complete with a bow from the dealer. I learned early not to expect fanfare. You do what's right and move on. Buying a house wasn't about praise. It was about a space where doors stay closed. It was about escaping my dad's blaring TV through thin apartment walls, not sharing a fridge with Tessa's empty meal prep containers. I saved for 4 years, extra shifts, no trips, roommates who left dishes piled up, and a spreadsheet titled Foundation Plan. I said no to small indulgences so I could say yes to one big thing. Last month, that yes came true. A modest craftsman home with a peach tree in the yard and a porch bench the previous owners left, asking only that I use it. 2 bedrooms, a creaky floorboard in the hall, a small fireplace with a tile painted with a lopsided green turtle. I ran my fingers along the kitchen counter and felt like I'd found a place that matched me. I sent a photo to the family group chat, keys in hand, a sold sign behind me captioned, "Housewarming next Saturday, 5 p.m., stew, biscuits, fire pit if the breeze allows." I got 3 thumbs-up emojis, a good job, son, that felt copied from somewhere else, and from Tessa, a gif of a popping cork with yes. All week, I cleaned cabinets, lined drawers. I painted over wall scuffs with leftover paint. I bought folding chairs and exactly 8 matching bowls. I found a used rug and hauled it home, poorly tied to my Civic, flapping in my rear view like a sail. On Saturday, I strung fairy lights in the backyard and lit 3 citronella candles that smelled like floor polish. The stew bubbled. I put the biscuits in at 4:20. I set a cooler on the deck with ice, 3 kinds of soda, 2 beers, and 1 cream soda because Dad likes to act young when he's in a good mood. I laid out napkins and cheap plastic spoons. At 5:02, I checked the street. It was silent. At 5:11, I lit the candles anyway. At 5:18, I texted, "ETA?" Mom replied, "Soon." With a smiley. Dad didn't respond. Tessa sent a photo. Her in sunglasses at a car lot, posing by a sleek blue sedan, captioned, "Big news." At 5:33, my phone buzzed again. A video from Mom. "Check out our star," she said, filming. Tessa revved the engine. Someone chuckled. The salesman clapped. The video cut off. I stared at the screen. The stew let out a slow bubble and burst. I turned off the stove. At 5:41, I switched on my new living room lights, expecting that home feeling to wash over me. The room looked like a real estate ad. Pristine, waiting, empty. My phone rang. Dad, I let it ring 1 beat longer than I would have last year, then picked up. "We need to talk," he said, no greeting. "All right," I replied. I looked at my porch where I'd hung a small, welcome sign, half joking. "Now," he said. I stood in my own house's glow, phone to my ear, hearing the tone Dad uses before he hands me a task. I didn't know what they wanted yet. I just knew they were at a dealership, and I was in a silent kitchen with cooling stew. I leaned against the counter and said, "I'm home." I didn't add, finally. Nobody came. The porch bench swayed in a light breeze. The sign felt foolish, like a gag with no payoff. I hung up and set my phone face down. Somewhere in town, Tessa cruised a lot in her new car, and everyone cheered. I stood in my house, listening to the fridge hum on. The first sting wasn't loud. It was lights glowing for a crowd that picked a different event. I served myself a bowl and ate over the sink. The stew was solid. The room was still. The lights stayed on. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I ate staring at the doorway, feeling the chill where the new weather strip hadn't arrived yet. Then I washed the bowl, dried it, and set it upside down on a towel, like I was prepping for something I couldn't name. Money in our family always wore a mask. It played love, duty, or discipline, whatever suited the moment. At 14, Dad called it responsibility and charged me $100 a month for rent from my part-time job. "Prepares you for life," he said, taking the bills from my hand like I owed a fine. At 16, when I asked where the money went, Mom said, "To the family." When I asked to see the family, Dad chuckled. By then, I kept a log, a note in my phone with dates and amounts. I told myself it wasn't obsessive. It was a guide through a haze where others could claim I'd misread the path. Meanwhile, Tessa had a knack for showing up after the bill. She was great at I want. Her wants got gentle words, dreams, creativity, promise. She tried a semester at community college, then quit because the teacher was harsh. She launched a candle business, ignoring sales tax. She wanted to be an influencer, so she needed a better phone, a ring light, a vibe space, a car for brand deals. Guess who ran the numbers for her vibe space? Guess who hauled a sofa from the garage? Guess who drove her to a collab that was just a stranger's apartment with a funky odor? When I pushed back, when I said no to adding her to my phone plan, no to costing her lease for just a few months, the words turned on me. I became distant, calculating, cheap. Mom would say, "Don't keep score with family." Dad would say, "A man steps up." A man steps up covered everything from Tessa's emergency credit card bill, $312.47, to Dad's new truck tires when he misjudged, payday, $198 to the HOA fee they let slide because HOAs are a ripoff, $280 plus penalties and a lawyer letter. Then there were the small ones, streaming subscriptions we all use, coffee pods because we like the good stuff, a new vacuum because you can't live without one. It was always we when they asked and you when they thanked. If I said no, Mom's voice went wobbly. "We did everything for you," she'd say. "We fed you." Dad would cross his arms and stare out a window. "We're not asking for much," he'd say. "Just family. I'm no martyr. I'm a guy who likes clear budgets and plans. I helped because it was simpler than arguing and because helping sometimes feels like loyalty, even when it's not." The house changed the equation. It meant no more leasing half my life to roommates' loud guests. It meant a door with my name on it and a title nobody else could sneak onto. It meant we couldn't mean you without my agreement. I told my parents I was house hunting. Mom said, "Get a guest room so Tessa has a spot while she figures things out." Dad said, "Make sure there's a garage for my bandsaw." Tessa said, "Your place is gonna be epic, and can I film in your kitchen? The lighting's perfect." When my offer was accepted, I brought over cheap sparkling juice and paper cups and said, "I did it." Mom hugged me, then said, "We should put Tessa on your address to lower her insurance." "Just temporarily." Dad grinned and said, "A house is a family resource." Tessa snapped a selfie in my car's side mirror and posted, "Big moves," with a wink emoji like my house was her set. I paid the down payment. I paid closing costs. I paid to replace a pipe the inspector called hopeful. I signed 15 times, then once more, the pen feeling rich and final. When the title agent slid the folder to me and said, "Homeowner," my chest loosened, a knot untied since I was 14 and billed for existing. That week, Mom texted, "We'll come Saturday to settle you in and bless the place." She sent a list of things they could bring, a plant, a mat that picture Dad likes. Tessa wrote, "I'll do a house tour for my fans." I replied, "Housewarming at 5. Only later did I wonder, are you here to celebrate or to stake a claim? Saturday answered. Nobody came. They were at a dealership watching Tessa test drive in circles. Dad was probably haggling the APR on speakerphone. Mom was likely filming, eyebrows raised like the surprise was hers. They clapped for a car that lost value as it left the lot. Nobody saw the door I'd paid to open. When Dad called and said, "We need to talk," I knew it wasn't about pride. It was about logistics. It was about my house the way a fox eyes a meadow. The stew in my sink didn't hurt by itself. It was the latest stroke in a pattern that shifts but always lands the same. A favor with my name on it. A plan where I'm the backup. A family where love sounds like, "Just sign this." I didn't answer Dad's now. I texted, "Tomorrow afternoon." He replied, "Don't be theatrical. In our family, theatrical means you didn't agree fast enough." That night, the peach tree rustled and dropped a fruit onto the grass. I sat on the porch bench watching a moth circle the light. My phone sat heavy on the table. I left it there. I watched the sky turn violet, then plain. I made a list for tomorrow, half tasks, half resolve. In the morning, I cleaned the counters again, prepping for a talk where someone would hand me a folder and call it family. They pulled up 10 minutes early like a task force. Dad's truck in front, Mom's crossover behind, Tessa in the glossy blue car with temporary tags slapped on crooked. I watched through the peephole. Tessa checked her makeup in the visor. Mom pressed her lips like she was about to scold a kid. Dad held a clipboard, naturally. I opened the door before they could knock. "Hey," I said. Mom air-kissed near my cheek. We'll bless the house after, she said. After what? Dad pushed past into my living room like he owned it. Tessa filmed a quick sweep for her socials. Guys, check it, she said to her phone. My brother's place. They didn't take off their shoes. They didn't comment on the turtle tile. They didn't ask about the peach tree. Dad set the clipboard on my counter. Let's cut to it, he said. To what? I asked, knowing the answer. He flipped a page. I saw printouts, titles, bullet points. He was eager. First, since Tessa's insurance is a scam, we're putting her car registration on your address. She'll park here sometimes. No, I said. He blinked. What? No, I repeated. No registration here unless you live here. Mom went soft, conciliatory. She'll be here a lot, she said. She needs stability. Tessa leaned on the counter, phone in hand. It's not a big deal, she said. Everyone does it. It's basically harmless. It's not about harm, I said. It's about my name. Dad sighed like I was a stubborn kid. You're being inflexible, he said. Next, we need to add your dad to the deed. You're my dad, I said. He ignored me. For inheritance purposes, he said. So it's clean if something happens to you. If something happens, I said. My will's in my desk. I wrote it last month. 2 witnesses. Jake from work and his partner signed. Nobody goes on my deed. Mom's smile tightened. We're looking out for you, she said. You don't get how the world works. I read, I said. I get it. Tessa looked insulted, like I'd rejected her new perfume. So selfish, she muttered. We're literally family. Dad flipped another page. Fine, then at least pull some cash out, he said. Refinance, take a $80,000 equity line, will help you handle it. Tessa needs a deposit for a shop. There it is, I said. What? Mom asked, startled. The reason you ditched my housewarming, I said. You were planning what to do with my house. Tessa threw up her hands. We were celebrating my car, she said. It's a milestone. You're being small, Dad tapped the clipboard. This is the milestone, he said. We need to be smart. Your money tied up in walls is idle. Unlock it. Tessa's store will repay you. Tessa's store, I said. The candles. The pop-ups you cancel when you're over it. The brand you've rebranded 3 times, she bristled. You're being toxic, she said. This is why you're left out. I invited you here, I said. You chose a dealership. Mom cut in, using that tone that masks control as care. Aaron, she said, hear me out. We raised you, we housed you, we fed you. Family shifts resources to the child who needs it most. You're stable. Tessa's building something. For 6 months, maybe a year, you carry the load, then she'll support you when you're ready to settle. Settle, I said. I just did, here. Dad leaned forward, elbows on my counter. Be a man, he said. Step up. You taught me to be a man by charging me rent at 14, I said. I stepped up, I saved, I did this alone. This house isn't a team effort. The air changed. That's the moment in our family where you're supposed to fold because Dad's about to yell or Mom's about to cry. Tessa smells that moment and wraps it around her like a shawl. She pointed a manicured nail at me. You don't even need both bedrooms, she said. I could move in, I could help with content, I'd pay you a bit. How much? I asked. She blinked. Why does it matter? Money's just energy, it flows. Dad slapped the clipboard. Enough. Here's the plan. I'll call my contact. We'll fix your deed to protect you. We'll refinance for a buffer. We'll register Tessa's car here for the discount. You'll host Thanksgiving since you've got the room. No, I said, voice steady. To all of it. Mom's eyes welled, a familiar mix of real and rehearsed. Why are you hurting us? She whispered. This isn't about hurting, I said, feeling calm lock in like a deadbolt. It's about boundaries, Dad scoffed. Boundaries from what? Your family. From a role I didn't choose, I said. From Aaron will handle it being the answer to every plan you make. Tessa's voice sharpened. You're lucky, she said. You got a house. Some of us need help. I needed help too, I said. I gave it to myself. Dad pointed at me like a coach. Listen, he said low now, you don't turn your back on blood. I'm not turning, I said. I'm securing what I paid for. He stood taller, anger shifting to that quiet kind that rewrites you in his mind. Do this, he said, and don't cry when you're alone. Mom added, don't expect us to come running when you need something. I stared at the peach on the counter, tempted to hand it to them as a parting shot. I didn't. Tessa checked her watch dramatically. I've got content to film, she said. Are we done? We're done, I said. House rules, no registrations here unless you live here, no keys handed out, no one on my deed, no loans. If Grandma needs meds, I'll help her directly. Otherwise, my house isn't the family bank or storage locker. If you want the bandsaw here, bring cash for a shed and we'll sign a receipt. Dad laughed sharp. A receipt, he said like it was an insult. Yes, I said, a receipt. Mom said, you're different. I've relocated, I said. They left with a door slam that said more than words. Tessa revved her car like it could outshine my porch light. I watched the blue taillights fade. My pulse thumped in my jaw. I went inside, wrote the rules on a note card, and taped it inside the pantry. Not for them, for me. People think the big stand is the tough part. It's not. The tough part is the next 2 weeks when your phone becomes a siren, and you have to choose not to dive into the flames just because they're familiar. Within an hour, the group chat exploded. Mom, your attitude today was unacceptable. Dad, ungrateful. Tessa, a screenshot of a DMV page with address change needed and a caption, my brother's literally blocking me. 3 of her friends liked it. A stranger DM'd me a skull emoji. I muted the chat. I silenced my ringer. I set Grandma and Jake from work as favorites to get through. Then quietly, without a speech, I did the practical work. I changed the smart lock code and deleted the temporary ones from move-in day. I installed a locking mailbox so no one could help with my mail and stumble on my bank statements. I emailed my insurance agent, instructing her not to accept policy changes without my signature and a password we set by phone. I froze my credit, knowing Dad's version of emergency. I locked my property records with the county, setting alerts for any filings on my parcel number. I called the dealership Tessa tagged and asked if anyone tried using my address. The clerk said, yeah, someone mentioned a family property for insurance. We haven't processed it. Don't, I said, and sent an email to confirm. I saved it in a folder labeled Home. Paper trails keep reality solid in my family. Mom ramped up to phone calls, 6 missed, 9, 14, voicemails swung from stern to soft to sharp to soft again. We can work this out, she said, then if you care about me, call. Then we'll be at your place at 7. Then a sigh. I don't even know you anymore. Dad sent 2 texts with links, one to a refinance tool, one to a storage shed at a hardware store. Caption, be practical. I didn't reply. Tessa took to her public stories, aiming at me. Some people close to you mock your drive, she wrote over a car photo. Keep driving. Her followers commented, haters gonna hate. I closed the app, went outside, picked 2 peaches, and gave one to my neighbor across the street who'd waved on move-in day and said, welcome. She said she liked them in smoothies. We chatted about nothing for 4 minutes. It felt like breathing clean air. On day 3, Mom tried a new tactic. We have a solution, she wrote. We'll help with your mortgage if you sign a family contract to keep the house with us. She put with us in quotes, like she knew it was vague but wanted it to sound normal. I replied, nobody goes on my deed. She didn't answer for 6 hours, then wrote, you'll be alone on holidays. Maybe, I typed, but I'll have a seat. Aunt Mara called, humming a gospel tune in her voicemail, then said, family's stronger than ego. I Googled the quote later and laughed in my kitchen because the original means the opposite. I didn't call back. Dad showed up once early Saturday before my coffee. I watched him through the peephole, fist raised, then lowered. He texted, come out. I texted, no unannounced visits. Schedule it. He stood on my porch, snapped a photo of my house like it was leverage, then drove off. I noted the date and time on a sticky note and filed it in my home folder. That afternoon, Tessa fed Mom a line and Mom fed it to me. Tessa just needs a mailing address for the DMV, just mail. I sent a link to the state law on primary residence. No, Tessa replied with 12 facepalm emojis, and you're obsessed with rules. They're how houses stay yours, I wrote. Grandma called after her evening drama show. They're upset, she said plainly. You eating? I am, I said. Made stew. Freeze some, she said. Don't let your mom guilt you into giving them your walls. I won't, I said. We talked about her meds. I offered to set up auto delivery to her door. Good kid, she said. Don't be a pushover. That's her I love you and keep the locks tight. I wrote down her needs and ordered online. I called her with the confirmation number. She jotted it on a sticky note for her fridge. We're alike, Grandma and me. We trust numbers that prove things happened. On day 5, the texts quieted. That scared me more than the noise. Silence in my family is regrouping. At noon, an email from my title company pinged. FYI, received inquiry ray. Adding party to deed. No action taken. Attached was a fuzzy scan of a form with my parcel number and father under new owner. No signature, no legal weight, just bold nerve on printer paper. The agent wrote, we denied it as we should, just informing you. I sent 10 thank yous and asked them to flag my file for future attempts. I printed the email for my folder. I ate a sandwich over the sink, shaking my head until the anger smoothed out. That night, the group chat renamed itself Family Crisis. Mom wrote, meeting Sunday, mandatory. I typed, I won't be there, and muted it again. Dad wrote, "You will. Then we're your parents. Then grow up." I set my phone down and hung a shelf in the hall. I used a stud finder. I checked the level. The house seemed to exhale as the screws sank in. I placed a dish on the shelf for my keys, mine alone. On Sunday at 5, while they met without me, I grilled 2 burgers on my small grill and gave one to my neighbor, who texted later, "You're a great neighbor." I watched the fairy lights flicker on. The peach tree rustled. I ate the second burger in a chair I'd bought myself. I thought about Dad's phrase, family resource, and realized I'd spent years mistaking family for open access to Aaron. The next morning, Mom tried a final ritual. "We took your keys," she texted. "We're blessing your house with oil." They had no keys. I'd changed the locks. I told her so. She sent a photo of a tiny oil jar on their old dining table. "We're praying for you," she wrote. "Thanks," I replied. "Keep your hands off my title." She didn't answer. A week after the failed housewarming, I hosted one anyway. I invited 5 coworkers, 2 guys from my rec league, and my neighbor across the street. I made the same stew. I set out the same plastic spoons. We sat on the creaky porch bench, swapping stories about work blunders and first apartments with roaches. At 7:40, my phone buzzed face down on the counter, and I ignored it. At 9:10, someone said, "This place feels like you." I went to bed at 11 with dishes in the sink, phone on silent, and woke at 6:30 to sunlight filtering through peach leaves, feeling a stillness that wasn't hollow. The locked mailbox is my daily reminder. This is yours, this is yours, this is yours.